grab your helmet and tighten your chin strap. This is the Lt Stache Podcast, the podcast built for firefighters by firefighters. Leadership, tradition, culture, and the hard truths that don't make it in the textbooks. Let's go to work. Welcome to the Lt Stache Podcast, a podcast about Mississippi firefighters and training opportunities to help us become better firefighters. So today we're going to start out talking about who I am, what our podcast is about, and the whole reason I'm doing this podcast. So in 2012, I joined the Mississippi Army National Guard as a combat medic. I've served in multiple units across the state, first starting off in the infamous 155, and then I moved to the MPs, and now I'm currently in the MedCom unit. I say all that to say that's where part of my fire service career began, as I started as an EMT there. Then in 2014, I joined the Brandon Fire Department. I started there for a year or two and then left, went back to being a diesel mechanic, which I thought that was going to be better paying, and it really was. But what it didn't have is it didn't have the sirens, and it didn't have the lights, and it didn't have the adrenaline rush I was used to being a firefighter. So in 2018, I went back to the fire service at Clinton Fire Department, where I currently still am a fireman. And then I also joined the Jackson Fire Department in 2024. In 2024, I also made lieutenant at the Clinton Fire Department on their ladder truck company, where we also specialize in special operations. In December of 24, I moved to Rescue 1 Jackson Fire Department, where we are the special operations unit for the city of Jackson. Prior to December, I was on Engine 12, which was the hottest truck in the station or in the city, and it was truly one of the best experiences I've ever got to do. We were fighting 2 to 3 house fires a night, and it was just a lot of experience jam-packed in a couple months. And I got to fight along some of the best firefighters I've ever seen. Other than that, though, I've been an EMT now since 2012, and I've worked for 2 different ambulance services, MServ, and I've also worked for AMR. And then I've also ventured off into the rope rescue world. In 2022, I went to work for Roco Rescue part-time, where I do standby rescue, and I've also just recently joined the Roco Rescue VPP safety team, where we kind of just review all the stuff that we see at the different places that we work at, and when we're training, and see how we can become a better company there. Now, a little bit about my family. So my family, I have my wife, which we're newly married, and then we have 4 kids together. My wife is always here when I'm recording, but she's the one behind the camera doing all the edits, and she's also the one that runs all the postings for me while I'm at work. She works really hard on doing this, and she really enjoys it. She said she don't want to get on that camera yet, but she loves being behind the camera. We have 4 kids between the 2 of us, and one of them being 16, 10, 8, and 4. So as you can imagine, our house is a really busy house, trying to manage all these different schedules. We got one that just learned how to drive and is driving on her own now. And then we got 2 of them that play sports and one of them that loves to dance. So as you can tell, there ain't much free time, but hey, if you ain't busy, then you ain't doing something right. Also, I'm being supported by my firehouse family and by even my other immediate family, my mom, my dad, and my brother. They're big supporters of this podcast, and I got to give them a shout out as well. So why did I join the fire service? Well, that starts off at a really young age for me. I really loved when I'd go outside and see them red lights going down the road and hear that big well siren going down the road. I just loved that big red truck, as most kids do. But it was a dream of mine from that age to become a firefighter. I remember my parents used to buy me the little plastic turnout gear and the little rubber boots and all that. And they'd go set a fire in a candle, and they'd come in my room and they'd ring a little bell and they'd send me out there and they'd say, "Josh, there's a fire. There's a fire. You got to go put it out. You got to go put it out." Well, I tell you, even as a little kid, I got that adrenaline rush, and I'd get up and I'd put on my little boots and I'd put on my little turnout coat, and I'd put on my helmet and my mask, and I'd run out there and grab the garden hose, put out that fire. And that was just the beginning of my adrenaline seeking and my want to be a firefighter. That carried with me throughout my whole childhood into my teens. And then when I became a fireman, it was even more realistic. So that's part of the reason I want to become a fireman. I've also always had a servant's heart. I love helping people. When it's their worst day, I usually remain calm under pressure, and I've proven that time and time again that it's just what I was called to do. Like I made the mention earlier, I left the fire service for a little bit of time, and when I did, I was like, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, you'll find a way to bring me back. And it wasn't 2 years later, and I was back at it again. So I say all that to tell you, this is one of the things I'm the most passionate about. You got my family, or you got God's family, and then my job. I love my job. My kids and my family are my number one after God, and then my job is the second. And if you ask my wife, sometimes my job comes before them, but it's not really the case. Uh, my parents also used to take me to all the fire stations around the country as we traveled throughout being a kid. And I remember just going up to the different trucks and seeing how they were. And they'd take me to different fire museums and show me the different places, and I loved it. I used to read every little book that they had for kids on firefighters when I was younger. And I got to where when I went to the museum one time at Jackson Fire Department, and I couldn't have been more than 7, 8 years old, they were telling us about the history and all this different stuff. And I was like, well, what's y'all's turnout gear made out of? And they're like, I don't really know. And I was like, it's made out of Nomex. And it was just because I'd watched so many videos and watched so many documentaries on fire service, and I also read so many books. I knew every little thing about that fire gear. I knew everything about how to fight fire. So I thought as a kid, but I remember there's pictures of me all the way up through grade schools coming up on career day wanting to be a fireman. And so that's really the drive that kept me going and made me really want to do this. So after that, I got in the fire service, and I mean, I did the job now for 10 years. And I was like, well, have I done the most I can for the fire service? And as we all know, there's always opportunities for you to give back to the fire service a little bit more. So I started off by trying to do highlight videos of fire departments that I've worked at and different fire departments around the state. And that's where the Lt Stache TikTok came from. So we started posting videos, and it's really blowing up. And I was like, I want to be more involved. Yeah, it's cool seeing all these videos, but I want to see what I can do to give back. So currently, I'm the district representative for the Firefighter Cancer Support Network for my district. And I'm also a part of several different organizations within the state, such as the State Task Force, and I'm also a part of the Hines County Task Force. And then I just keep going more and more in depth in the fire service. So I was like, well, let's start a podcast and try to give all the firefighters in Mississippi and surrounding states the same opportunities I've had. And hopefully that it will motivate them to be more involved in the fire service. So within this podcast, you're going to hear several different types of stories. We're going to start off with how they even become a fireman in the state of Mississippi. And then we'll move into talking about a little bit of the political side. I don't really want to call it politics, but we're going to talk about the retirement system in Mississippi. One of the guys I got coming to talk about it is a true lobbyist for helping the retirement in Mississippi get better. And that's what we all need to keep the retention rates. And he's going to talk about a little bit what he's done at his department for recruitment and retention. But during this podcast, we're going to highlight, like I said, anything from how to become a fireman, a little bit about the current affairs of fire departments. And then we're also going to highlight new EMS practices and the best practices for like burn care. We're also going to talk about different stories that have guys that have been in the fire service for a while and let you tell their stories about how it was when they started out versus how fire service has transitioned, and just hear what they had to say and some of the things they've seen. But one of the things I'm most excited about is going to be the third Monday of every month. We're going to have what's called Tech Monday, and it's going to be an episode strictly about a technical rescue program from somewhere in the United States that will allow firefighters to come train and get technical certifications. First up, we're going to have Roco Rescue. They're a company, like I said, I've worked for, but we're going to get their training division to kind of show you some of the different programs they offer and tell you how it started off as a firefighter company. It was some firefighters out of Texas that started it. But I also want y'all to get to meet some of the mentors that have made very big improvements in my life and helped me become the guy I am today. They have really, truly made me the person, the family man, the firefighter that I am. And one of the first ones you'll get to hear the stories from is Rob Martin. Rob Martin was actually one of my baseball coaches when I was a young kid, and he was at the time the fire chief of Pearl Fire Department. I remember looking up to that man and saying, one day I hope I could be like you and be the chief of a fire department. And I'm very honored that he was willing to come on the show, and he should be coming in April. So y'all look forward to hearing that. We're also going to get to talk to Chief Levius Buckley. He is currently the Clinton Fire Department fire chief. He is my fire chief, and he's going to tell y'all a little bit of the not so good stuff about me and the good stuff. We're going to be completely open and honest on this podcast, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to have fun, and we're going to just let it go. We're also going to highlight different organizations within the state of Mississippi about how they contribute to us, how they're there for us, and what they do for us, so that if you do fall on hard times, hopefully we can highlight an organization that can help you out, um, such as the peer-to-peer support group out of Mississippi Baptist Hospital in Jackson, Mississippi. They're there for you for your PTSD, or if you're just having emotional stress or whatever, they're there for you, and they're going to come on and talk to us about what the services they offer. We're going to talk to the Mississippi Burn Camp about some of the services they offer for burn victims. And we just want this to be a very informative podcast, a fun podcast. The whole thing is, like I said, to help Mississippi firefighters. But at the same time, we're going to have the serious thoughts too. So if you're out there listening and there's a certain topic you want covered, then please let us know. More than willing to help anybody out, and I'm more than willing to talk about anything. And if there's somebody you think should be on here that's really made a great contribution to the Mississippi Fire Service, then let us know. We'll get them on here. If they're willing to get on here and talk with me, I'm all for it. For fire department specific stuff, if you have made a grab or been injured or have some type of story that we can all learn from a recent fire or a fire that's happened at any point in your career and you're willing to talk, come on. We love to learn from what we can, because to me, if you don't stop, or let me rephrase that. If you stop learning, then you're complacent. We can't get complacent in the fire service, as the dangers are always changing, and we're learning more and more about the different chemicals and stuff that we see every day. Also, I want to highlight some of the different companies that are starting with us, and they're helping us out from the very beginning. First off, I'd like to mention Mike Goldstein. Hopefully we can get him on the podcast here soon. He's already told me that he would come on. But Mike, I got to give him a huge shout out, because when I was thinking about making a podcast and I was going through the different podcasts that I listen to, and I messaged Mike and I said, "Hey man, I've got some questions about starting a podcast." And Mike, within a day, he texted me back and he said, "What's your questions, buddy?" And so I started to type them up. He said, "If you would, just give me a call and we'll have a discussion." And within a couple hours, we had an hour and a half conversation about all the different equipment that he runs, all the different stuff that he does. And he was just willing to help me out. I'm down here in Mississippi, just doing a little old Mississippi podcast, and he was willing to help me out that fast. Then I got to give a shout out to Corley Moore. He was the same way. Messaged him on the Vigilantes little chat line, and he called me and he said, "Man, what's your questions? How can I help you?" And he was just there to give me advice. So I got to give two big shout outs to Corley Moore and Mike Goldstein. Also, I got to give a shout out to Nobility Industries. They currently make a webbing glow ball that goes into your turnouts to help you find your webbing or to help you find your mask. Y'all go check them out on TikTok, and they have a website that we'll mark down here at the bottom of the podcast. Y'all go look at them, check them out. They have sent us their products, and we're going to put some videos together of us using it, as well as you can check out their videos of it. Also, we'll give a shout out to Firehouse Graphics. They have made our stickers that we currently have and that we'll give to each of our featured guests. And that way that we have something for them to remember us. But if you would like a helmet sticker, please message us and we'll try to get you one. But like I said, you can't do a podcast without having the support of people behind you in your corner. And that truly boils down to my wife and my family, and then the Firehouse family that I have with me. My wife, like I said, she's the one behind the camera, but she's also just as invested in this podcast as I am. I promise you that. And later on in one of our episodes, we're going to try to bring some wives up here and talk to them about what it's like when the husband or the spouse is at the fire department for 24 hours and they're the ones taking care of that family without us there. And with that being said, we're going to try to look into starting a Lieutenant Stache Firewives forum. That way, firewives all across the country can come together and be there for advice, be there for everything that we have going on, and just so they can get that help. Because sometimes, yeah, we try to understand the pain and the suffering they go through when we're at the fire station, but we don't truly always understand that. So my goal is to really bring a bunch of firewives together, and maybe one day it'll turn into cookouts. Who knows where it'll go from there? Like I said, I am looking forward to this podcast. As y'all can tell, I'm super excited about it. And I hope y'all are going to tune in and listen to me every Monday. Every Monday morning we'll post a podcast, or my bad, it's every Monday evening we'll post a episode, and y'all get to see some of the best guys in the business, starting with some people like Chief Buckley, Chief Josh Wells from Reservoir Fire, Mark Murphy, a retired battalion chief from Jackson Fire Department, John Stegall and Ricky Hall, which were both captains at the Jackson Fire Department. One of the younger guys, but I tell you, he's made an impact on Jackson Fire Department already, is Andy Vickers. He's a Mississippi smoke diver, and he's going to kind of talk to you about the stuff he's gone through with it, and then some of the different, that man's fought more fires than I've ever even thought about fighting, along with some of them other guys I've mentioned. And then y'all get to hear from one of my biggest mentors in life, Rob Martin, and then several other guys that I have a tremendous respect for. If y'all just tune in with us and help support us and help get us out there. And we look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. For those of y'all that want to suggest somebody, please email us. My email is Lt Stache, STACHE, 25 at gmail.com. And that you can email it at any time and we'll get to you as soon as we can. Also, you can follow us on any social media. We have a TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We'll be airing on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So reach out on social media. Like I said, we're here for y'all, and I hope y'all are here for us. So y'all have a great day. I hope to see y'all next week when we will start off with Chief Buckley, followed by Chief Joshua Swells the following week. And there's plenty more to come. Y'all tune in and check our social media for updates. Have a great day.